In a distant galaxy, far beyond the reaches of Earth's most advanced telescopes, there existed a coalition of alien races known as the Centauri Federation. The Centauri were a proud and powerful alliance, ruling over vast regions of space with their advanced technology and disciplined armies. They had explored countless star systems, colonized planets, and encountered dozens of intelligent species. But among all the stories passed down through generations, one stood out as both fascinating and unbelievable: the tale of humanity. According to ancient texts, humans were once a dominant force in the universe. These beings, though physically weaker than many other species, possessed an unmatched ingenuity and ferocity. They built sprawling empires, waged wars that shook entire star systems, and created technologies so advanced they seemed almost magical. Yet despite their brilliance, humanity eventually vanished from the galactic stage. Some claimed they destroyed themselves in endless conflicts. Others believed they retreated to some hidden corner of the cosmos. Over time, these stories became myths, dismissed by historians as exaggerations or outright fabrications. Kyle Torin, a respected scholar within the Centauri Federation, was one such skeptic. He spent his life studying the legends of ancient civilizations, often debunking them with cold logic and hard evidence. To Kale, the idea of humans being anything more than a myth was laughable. A species capable of such feats, he would say during lectures. It's impossible. If they ever existed at all, they're long gone now. But while the Centauri debated the truth of these legends, something extraordinary was happening. On a small blue planet orbiting a modest yellow star, on Earth, humanity had not only survived but thrived. After centuries of war, environmental disasters, and political turmoil, the people of Earth had finally come together under a single government. Under the leadership of President Rachel Monroe, humanity entered a new era of unity and progress. Cities stretched into the skies, renewable energy-powered nations, and scientific breakthroughs occurred at an unprecedented rate. Among Rachel's closest advisors was General Daniel Hayes, a man whose stern demeanor masked a deep sense of duty to his people. Daniel had spent decades serving in Earth's military, rising through the ranks thanks to his strategic mind and unyielding determination. Though he rarely showed emotion, those who knew him understood that he carried the weight of protecting billions on his shoulders. One day, everything changed. Deep space observatories detected strange signals emanating from the outer edges of the solar system. At first, scientists thought it might be a natural phenomenon, a rogue comet or perhaps a dying star. But when the data was analyzed further, it became clear that this was no ordinary event. The signals were artificial, originating from massive objects moving toward Earth at incredible speeds. News of the discovery reached the White House, and Rachel immediately called an emergency meeting with her top officials. In a secure conference room beneath the Capitol building, she listened intently as Dr. Emily Carter, a leading astrophysicist, explained what they were dealing with. Emily had been monitoring the signals for days, and her findings were alarming. "They're ships," Emily said, pointing to a holographic display showing the trajectory of the unidentified objects. "Hundreds of them, maybe thousands, they're heading straight for us." The room fell silent. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Daniel leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "Do we know who they are?" Emily hesitated before answering. "Not yet, but based on their speed and formation, I'd say they're highly advanced, far beyond anything we've seen before." Rachel took a deep breath, her expression calm but resolute. "Prepare the fleet," she ordered, "and alert our allies. Whatever this is, we need to be ready." As preparations began across the globe, the mystery deepened. Days later, the invaders crossed the orbit of Pluto and transmitted a message to Earth. It was broadcast on every frequency, impossible to ignore. The voice that spoke was deep and commanding, laced with arrogance. "We are the Centauri Federation," it declared. "Your world belongs to us now. Surrender, and you will be spared. Resist, and you will be annihilated." The message sent shockwaves through humanity. Fear gripped millions, but it also ignited a fire of defiance. For centuries, Earth had faced challenges, both internal and external, and always emerged stronger. This time would be no different. Rachel addressed the world in a live broadcast, her words echoing in living rooms and public squares around the planet. To the Centauri Federation, she began, her tone firm and unwavering. We hear your demands, and our answer is simple: never. This is our home, our future, and we will defend it with everything we have. Her speech rallied the people of Earth. Factories shifted to produce weapons and supplies. Volunteers flooded recruitment centers, eager to join the fight. Scientists worked around the clock to develop countermeasures against the invaders. Superior technology. Even children contributed by organizing supply drives and creating messages of support for the troops. Among those preparing for battle was Captain Ryan Cole, a skilled pilot stationed aboard the orbital defense platform Aurora 1. Ryan had grown up dreaming of adventure among the stars, but he never imagined he'd face an alien invasion. With his quick reflexes and fearless attitude, he quickly rose to become one of Earth's finest pilots. Joining him was Lieutenant Sophia Blake, a brilliant tactician known for her ability to think several steps ahead of the enemy. Together, Ryan and Sophia led training exercises for Earth's pilots, drilling them on formations and strategies designed to maximize their chances against the Centauri. Despite the overwhelming odds, morale remained high. Everyone knew the stakes, and everyone was willing to fight. Meanwhile, Emily continued analyzing the invaders' technology. She discovered that their ships were powered by quantum cores, devices capable of generating immense amounts of energy. While Earth didn't possess similar technology, Emily realized they could exploit its weaknesses. Quantum cores were vulnerable to electromagnetic pulses, bursts of energy that could disrupt or even destroy them. Armed with this knowledge, she proposed using Earth's experimental EMP satellites to disable the Centauri fleet temporarily. As the days passed, tension mounted. The Centauri Armada grew closer, their massive ships casting long shadows over the solar system. Finally, the moment arrived. The invaders reached Jupiter's orbit and launched their first attack. Earth's defenders sprang into action, deploying fighters and activating the EMP satellites. The battle was chaotic and intense. Centauri ships unleashed devastating beams of energy, obliterating several human vessels in seconds. But the Terran pilots fought back with surprising tenacity, weaving through enemy fire and striking at weak points. When the EMP satellites activated, the effect was immediate. Dozens of Centauri ships faltered, their systems disrupted by the electromagnetic surge. Seizing the opportunity, Ryan and Sophia led a daring assault on the crippled vessels, inflicting significant damage before retreating. For the first time in millennia, the Centauri found themselves questioning the legends of humanity. These beings, whom they had dismissed as mere myths, were proving to be formidable opponents. Their unpredictability, resourcefulness, and sheer determination caught the invaders off guard. Back on Earth, news of the victory spread quickly. Cheers erupted in cities worldwide as people celebrated the bravery of their defenders. But amid the jubilation, there was also sober reflection. This was only the beginning. The Centauri still outnumbered Earth's forces, and their resolve was far from broken. Rachel stood on the balcony of the White House watching the sun set over Washington, D.C. Behind her, aides bustled about, preparing for the next phase of the conflict. She felt a mixture of pride and trepidation. Humanity had shown its strength, but the road ahead would be long and difficult. Legends aren't born, she murmured to herself, recalling the ancient tales of human valor. They're made, and so the stage was set for a clash of civilizations, unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. The Centauri had come seeking conquest, but they had awakened something far greater, the indomitable spirit of humanity. The first skirmish near Jupiter's orbit left both sides reeling, though for very different reasons. The Centauri Federation had never faced an opponent like humanity. Their experience with other species told them that smaller, less advanced civilizations would either surrender immediately or crumble under the weight of their overwhelming firepower. But Earth's defenders had done neither. Instead, they had struck back with a ferocity and ingenuity that shocked even Commander Varric Solis, the leader of the Centauri Armada. Varric paced the bridge of his flagship, The Ecliptor, his mind racing. The humans' use of EMP satellites to disable dozens of his ships was troubling enough, but what unsettled him more was their unpredictability. They didn't fight in neat formations or follow predictable patterns. Their pilots darted between Zentari vessels, exploiting weaknesses and retreating before reinforcements could arrive. It was as if they were fighting not just with technology but with instinct and creativity, qualities Varric hadn't anticipated. Back on Earth, the mood was a mix of relief and determination. The victory at Jupiter had bought humanity some time, but everyone knew it wasn't enough. The Zentari fleet still outnumbered Earth's forces by a staggering margin, and their technology remained far superior. President Rachel Monroe called another emergency meeting with her advisors, including General Daniel Hayes and Dr. Emily Carter. "We hit them hard," Daniel said, addressing the group gathered in the secure war room beneath the Capitol building. "But we can't keep doing this piecemeal. If they regroup and come at us full force, we'll be overwhelmed." Emily nodded, her expression serious. She had spent the past hours analyzing data from the battle, trying to find any edge they could exploit. "Their quantum cores are powerful, but they're also fragile," she explained. "If we can target those cores directly, we might be able to take out multiple ships at once." Rachel leaned forward, her sharp eyes locking onto Emily. "How do we do that?" "It won't be easy," Emily admitted. "We'd need precision strikes, pilots willing to get close enough to deliver a payload straight into the core chamber of each ship. And even then, there's no guarantee it'll work." Daniel frowned. "That's suicide. We can't ask our people to fly into certain death." "Not all of them," Emily countered. "Just a small team, elite pilots who know the risks and are willing to take them." Rachel considered this for a moment, then turned to Daniel. "Can you put together such a team?" Daniel hesitated. Knowing what he was about to propose would mean sending some of Earth's best into almost certain peril. But he also knew they had no choice. "I'll handpick the best," he said finally. "People I trust with my life." Meanwhile, Captain Ryan Cole sat in the cockpit of his fighter, staring out at the stars. The adrenaline from the battle near Jupiter had worn off, leaving behind a quiet sense of dread. He had seen friends and comrades fall during the engagement, their ships reduced to fiery debris in an instant. Yet despite the losses, there was something exhilarating about facing the Zentari head-on. For the first time in his life, Ryan felt truly alive. When Daniel approached him later that evening, Ryan wasn't surprised. "You're putting together a special ops team," Ryan said, cutting straight to the point. "And you want me to lead it?" Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Is it that obvious?" Ryan shrugged. "You wouldn't be here otherwise." Daniel sighed, running a hand through his graying hair. "This isn't going to be like anything you've done before. You'll be flying into enemy territory, targeting their ship's cores. Odds are most of you won't make it back." Ryan didn't hesitate. "I'm in." Over the next few days, Daniel assembled a small but highly skilled team. Alongside Ryan was Lieutenant Sophia Blake, whose tactical brilliance made her invaluable in high-stakes situations. Joining them was Lucas Grayson, a former engineer-turned-pilot whose knack for improvisation had saved his squadron more than once. Rounding out the group was Mia Torres, a communications expert who doubled as a sharpshooter when needed. As the HFY team trained together, they formed a bond that went beyond camaraderie. Each member brought something unique to the table, and they trusted one another implicitly. They knew the mission ahead was nearly impossible, but none of them wavered. While preparations continued on Earth, news of the battle reached distant corners of the galaxy. On Xylos 7, a mining colony under Zentari control, Aaron Voss listened intently to encrypted broadcasts describing humanity's resistance. Aaron was a natural-born leader, respected by the colonists for his courage and vision. Under Zentari rule, life on Xylos 7 was harsh and oppressive, with resources stripped away and dissent brutally crushed. But now, hearing about Earth's defiance, Aaron saw an opportunity. He gathered a group of trusted allies in secret, sharing his plan to rise up against their oppressors. "The Zentari think they're invincible," Aaron said, his voice low but passionate. But Earth just proved they're not. If we strike now, while they're focused on humanity, we can free ourselves. Among those listening was Lyra Solon, a disillusioned officer in the Zentari military stationed on Xylos 7. Lyra had grown increasingly uncomfortable with the Federation's methods over the years, particularly their treatment of conquered worlds. When Aaron approached her with his rebellion plans, she agreed to help, providing critical information about Zentari supply lines and troop movements. Aaron sent a message to Earth, offering intelligence in exchange for support. To his surprise, President Rachel Monroe responded personally, promising aid and vowing to stand with anyone fighting for freedom. For the first time in years, Aaron felt hope. Back on Earth, tensions rose as civilians braced for the inevitable next wave of attacks. Volunteers poured into recruitment centers eager to join the fight. Among them was Mia's younger brother Alex Torres, who had always looked up to his sister. Despite being only 18, Alex insisted on enlisting, determined to protect his family and planet. Mia tried to talk him out of it, arguing that he was too young and inexperienced. But Alex refused to back down. "You're out there risking your life," he said. "Why should I sit here and do nothing?" Reluctantly, Mia helped him prepare for basic training, teaching him everything she knew about combat and survival. Watching him grow stronger and more confident filled her with pride, though it also deepened her fear of losing him. As the days passed, Earth's defenses grew stronger. Factories churned out new fighters equipped with experimental weapons designed to penetrate Zentari shields. Scientists worked tirelessly to improve the EMP satellites, increasing their range and power. Civilians rallied together, organizing supply drives and creating messages of encouragement for the troops. President Rachel Monroe addressed the United Nations, urging global unity in the face of the alien threat. Her speech resonated deeply, inspiring nations to set aside old rivalries and focus on survival. "We may stand alone in this fight," she declared, "but we will never kneel. This is our planet, our legacy, and we will protect it." Her words echoed across the globe, galvanizing billions of people. From bustling cities to remote villages, humanity united under a single banner: resistance. Finally, the moment arrived. Intelligence reports indicated that the Zentari were regrouping near Saturn's rings, preparing for another assault. Ryan and his team suited up, their faces grim but resolute. As they boarded their fighters, Daniel gave them one last piece of advice. "Stay sharp," he said. "Trust each other. And remember, you're not just fighting for yourselves. You're fighting for everyone back home." With that, the team launched into space, heading toward the heart of the Zentari fleet. The mission was clear: infiltrate the enemy's largest battleships, locate their quantum cores, and destroy them from within. It was a desperate gamble, but it was the only chance Earth had. As their fighters approached the massive Zentari vessels, Ryan couldn't help but feel a pang of awe. The ships loomed like mountains, their sleek designs gleaming ominously in the light of Saturn's rings, but there was no time for admiration. The battle was about to begin. Sophia coordinated the team's movements, guiding them through gaps in the Zentari defenses. Lucas flew cover, taking out enemy drones that threatened to intercept them. Mia monitored communications, alerting the others to any changes in the Zentari's tactics. One by one, the team slipped inside the massive ships, navigating labyrinthine corridors filled with automated turrets and patrols of Zentari soldiers. Every step was fraught with danger, every decision critical. But they pressed on, driven by the knowledge that failure meant doom for Earth. Ryan led the way, his heart pounding, as he approached the core chamber. The room was massive, filled with pulsating energy fields and humming machinery. In the center stood the quantum core, glowing with an eerie blue light. This was it, their target. "Plant the charges," Ryan ordered, keeping watch as Lucas set the explosives. Time seemed to slow as they worked, every second stretching into eternity. Then, just as Lucas finished, alarms blared throughout the ship. "They know we're here," Mia shouted over the comm link. "Fall back," Ryan commanded, leading the team toward the nearest exit. Behind them, the core began to destabilize, its energy surging wildly. The countdown had begun. As they raced through the ship, explosions erupted around them, shaking the deck beneath their feet. Enemy forces closed in, forcing the team to fight their way out. Sophia took charge, directing their retreat with precision. Lucas covered them. The victory near Saturn's rings was a turning point, but it came at a cost. Earth's defenders had destroyed several key Zentari ships and disrupted their fleet's cohesion, but the losses were heavy. Dozens of pilots never returned from the mission, their names added to the growing list of heroes who had given everything for humanity's survival. Among those lost was Lucas Grayson, whose quick thinking and bravery helped ensure the success of the operation. His sacrifice weighed heavily on Ryan Cole and the rest of the team. Back on Earth, the mood was somber but determined. President Rachel Monroe addressed the nation in a live broadcast, her voice steady despite the grief etched into her face. "Today, we mourn those who have fallen," she said. "But we also celebrate their courage and honor their memory. They fought not just for us but for future generations. Let their sacrifice remind us that we are stronger together and that we will not yield." Her words resonated deeply with people across the globe. Memorials were erected in cities and towns, honoring the fallen heroes. Children drew pictures of fighter jets and alien ships, while families lit candles in remembrance. The loss was painful, but it only strengthened humanity's resolve. Everyone knew the fight wasn't over, and they couldn't afford to lose. Focus. Dr. Emily Carter worked tirelessly in her lab, analyzing data from the recent battle. She had been studying the quantum cores used by the Zentari, trying to understand how they could be neutralized more effectively. With help from Mia Torres, her assistant, Emily discovered something crucial. The cores emitted specific frequencies when destabilized. If they could replicate those frequencies using Earth satellites, they might be able to disable multiple ships simultaneously. "This could give us an edge," Emily explained to General Daniel Hayes during a meeting. "Instead of sending pilots into enemy territory, we can target their ships remotely." Daniel nodded, his expression thoughtful. "It's risky. They'll adapt if they figure out what we're doing, but it's worth a shot." Meanwhile, Captain Ryan Cole struggled with guilt over Lucas's death. He replayed the mission in his mind over and over, wondering if there was anything he could have done differently. Sophia Blake noticed his withdrawal and pulled him aside one evening after training. "You're not alone in this," she told him firmly. "We all feel the weight of what happened, but blaming yourself won't bring him back." Lucas knew the risks, and he chose to fight anyway. "The best way to honor him is to keep going." Her words struck a chord, and Ryan forced himself to refocus. There would be time to grieve later. For now, Earth needed every pilot ready for the next battle. On Xylo 7, Aaron Voss and his rebellion prepared to strike. With intelligence provided by Lyra Solon, they identified a critical supply depot used by the Zentari to resupply their fleet. Destroying it would cripple their ability to wage war against Earth. Aaron gathered his fighters, a ragtag group of miners and former slaves armed with makeshift weapons and stolen Zentari tech. "Tonight, we show them we're not afraid," Aaron said, addressing the group. "We fight for freedom, for ourselves, for Earth, and for every world under their boot." As the rebels launched their attack, chaos erupted around the depot. Explosions lit up the night sky as they targeted fuel, tanks, and ammunition stores. The Zentari forces stationed there were caught off guard, struggling to respond to the sudden assault. By the time reinforcements arrived, the depot was in flames, its resources destroyed. News of the rebellion spread quickly, inspiring other oppressed planets to rise up. Messages of solidarity poured in from across the galaxy, pledging support for Earth and vowing to resist Zentari rule. On one such planet, a young leader named Jarek spoke to his people, urging them to join the fight. "Humanity has shown us that even the smallest spark can ignite a fire," he declared. "Let us add our flames to theirs." Back on Earth, preparations continued for the inevitable next wave of attacks. Factories worked around the clock to produce new fighters and weapons, while scientists implemented Emily's plan to disrupt the Zentari's quantum cores. Civilians played their part too, volunteering in record numbers to support the war effort. Farmers donated food to feed the troops, engineers designed upgrades for existing technology, and artists created propaganda posters encouraging unity and resilience. Among the volunteers was Alex Torres, Mia's younger brother. Despite her protests, he had completed basic training and was now assigned to a ground defense unit. Though inexperienced, Alex proved himself capable during drills, earning the respect of his fellow soldiers. Mia watched him grow stronger with pride, though her fear for his safety never faded. One day, as Alex stood guard at a perimeter checkpoint, he spotted movement in the distance. At first he thought it was wildlife, but then he realized it was a lone Centauri scout ship descending toward Earth. Without hesitation, he sounded the alarm, alerting nearby units. Within minutes, anti-aircraft batteries opened fire, forcing the ship to retreat. It was a small victory, but it reminded everyone that vigilance mattered. General Daniel Hayes coordinated Earth's defenses, knowing the Centauri wouldn't wait long before launching another offensive. He ordered reconnaissance, missions to track their movements, ensuring they wouldn't be caught off guard again. Reports indicated that the Centauri were regrouping near Neptune's orbit, reinforcing their remaining ships and repairing damage from the previous battle. "They're licking their wounds," Daniel told Rachel during a briefing. "But they'll come back harder and faster. We need to hit them before they're ready." Rachel agreed, authorizing a preemptive strike. Using Emily's frequency-based weapon system, Earth satellites targeted clusters of Centauri ships, disabling their engines and leaving them vulnerable to attack. Fighter squadrons led by Ryan and Sophia launched from orbital platforms, striking at the immobilized vessels. The operation was swift and efficient, dealing significant damage to the Centauri fleet. Commander Varek Solis fumed aboard the Ecliptor, his frustration boiling over. Humanity was proving to be far more resourceful than he had anticipated. Their tactics were unconventional, their determination unshakable. For the first time in his career, Varek began to doubt the outcome of the invasion. "They're adapting too quickly," he muttered to his second-in-command, a stern officer named Cale Draven. "If we don't find a way to counter them, this campaign will end in failure." Cale nodded grimly. "Perhaps it's time to rethink our strategy. These humans, they're unlike any foe we've faced before." Amid the ongoing conflict, stories of heroism emerged from unexpected places. In a small coastal town, a retired engineer named Jack Miller devised a way to modify civilian drones to jam Centauri communications. His invention was adopted by local militias, giving them a tactical advantage during skirmishes. In another city, a group of teenagers hacked into Centauri surveillance systems, feeding false information to confuse their patrols. Even children contributed in their own ways. Schools organized fundraisers to support wounded soldiers, while classrooms became hubs of creativity as students designed posters and wrote letters of encouragement. One letter, written by a 10-year-old girl named Lily, made its way to Ryan's squadron. "Thank you for protecting us," she wrote. "I believe in you." Ryan kept the letter tucked inside his flight suit, reading it whenever doubts crept, and it reminded him why he fought. Not just for Earth, but for the hope and innocence embodied by children like Lily. As weeks turned into months, humanity's resistance grew stronger. The Centauri found themselves stretched thin, battling not only Earth's defenders but also rebellions across their empire. Morale among their ranks plummeted as soldiers questioned the wisdom of invading a species so fiercely determined to survive. President Rachel Monroe addressed the United Nations once more, her tone defiant, yet hopeful. "We've shown the galaxy that humanity cannot be broken," she declared. "Together we've forged alliances with worlds yearning for freedom. Together we've proven that legends aren't born, they're made, and together we will prevail." Her speech inspired billions. From Earth to distant colonies, people rallied behind the cause. Humanity had started as a single blue dot in the vastness of space, but now it stood as a beacon of hope, a testament to the power of unity and courage. The Centauri still held advantages in numbers and technology, but they no longer underestimated their opponents. Each battle brought new challenges, each engagement tested their resolve. Yet through it all, humanity refused to yield. Legends weren't born, they were forged in the fires of adversity. And Earth was writing its own story, one chapter at a time. The war between humanity and the Centauri Federation had reached a critical stage. Earth's defenders had scored significant victories, but the cost was mounting. Supplies were running low, and the constant strain on pilots and soldiers was beginning to show. Despite their resilience, everyone knew that Earth couldn't sustain this level of conflict indefinitely. The Centauri still held the advantage in numbers and technology, and it was only a matter of time before they launched another massive assault. President Rachel Monroe called an emergency meeting with her top advisors, including General Daniel Hayes and Dr. Emily Carter. The room was tense as Rachel addressed the group. "We've held them off so far," she said, her voice firm but tinged with urgency. "But we're reaching our limits. We need a decisive move, something that will end this war once and for all." Emily hesitated before speaking. She had been working on a classified project for weeks, one that could potentially turn the tide of the war, but it was risky, and its success was far from guaranteed. "There's something we can try," she began cautiously. "It's called Project Dawnbreaker. It's a superweapon designed to create artificial black holes." The room fell silent. Everyone understood the implications of such a weapon. A black hole could destroy entire fleets, or entire planets if used incorrectly. Rachel leaned forward, her expression serious. "Explain." Emily took a deep breath. "Dawnbreaker uses concentrated gravitational energy to collapse space around a target. If we deploy it correctly, it could engulf the Centauri Armada without harming Earth. But there's a catch. If we miscalculate, it could destabilize the solar system." Daniel frowned. "That's a big risk. Are you sure it's ready?" "It's ready," Emily replied. "But we'll need precise targeting data and absolute control over the deployment. One mistake and we could lose everything." Rachel thought for a moment, weighing the options. They couldn't keep fighting piecemeal battles forever. If Dawnbreaker worked, it could end the war in a single stroke. "Do it," she said finally, "but make sure every safeguard is in place. We can't afford any errors." Meanwhile, Captain Ryan Cole and Lieutenant Sophia Blake continued leading Earth's fighter squadrons, pushing back against Centauri incursions whenever possible. Their missions were becoming increasingly dangerous as the Centauri adapted to humanity's tactics. The aliens had begun deploying advanced drones equipped with AI, making it harder for pilots to outmaneuver them. Casualties were rising, and morale among the squadrons was starting to waver. Ryan noticed the change during briefings. Pilots who once entered the cockpit with confidence now carried the weight of uncertainty. He tried to boost their spirits, reminding them of what they were fighting for. "We've come too far to give up now," he told his team after a particularly grueling mission. "Every ship we take down brings us closer to victory. Don't lose sight of that," Sophia added, her own encouragement. "Remember why we're here, not just for ourselves, but for everyone back home. They're counting on us." Despite their efforts, the strain was undeniable. Even Ryan felt the pressure. He often found himself staring at the stars, wondering how much longer they could hold out. But then he'd think about Lucas Grayson, Alex Torres, and all the others, who had sacrificed so much. Giving up wasn't an option, not while there was still a chance to win. On Xylo 7, Aaron Voss's rebellion continued to gain momentum. After destroying the supply depot, his forces had liberated several mining colonies, freeing thousands of enslaved workers. News of their success spread across the galaxy, inspiring other oppressed worlds to rise up. The Centauri were stretched thin, forced to divert resources to quell rebellions while still maintaining pressure on Earth. Lyra Solon played a crucial role in the uprising, providing intelligence that allowed the rebels to strike key targets with precision. Her knowledge of Centauri operations gave them a significant advantage, though it came at great personal risk. She knew that if she were captured, the punishment would be severe. But Lyra had made her choice, to fight for freedom no matter the cost. One night, as Aaron and his team planned their next move, Lyra approached him with urgent news. "The Centauri are reinforcing their blockade around Earth," she said. "They're preparing for a final assault. Aaron's heart sank. He knew what that meant. If Earth fell, the rebellion would crumble. "We have to help them," he said firmly. "Send whatever support you can. Weapons, ships, fighters, it doesn't matter. Just get it to them." Lyra nodded. "I'll do what I can, but time is short." Back on Earth, preparations for Project Dawnbreaker were underway. Emily and Mia Torres worked tirelessly, fine-tuning the weapons systems and running simulations to ensure accuracy. Every calculation had to be perfect, even the slightest. Error could spell disaster. As the deadline approached, the stress became almost unbearable. Mia confided in her brother Alex during a rare moment of downtime. "What if it doesn't work?" she asked, her voice trembling. "What if we make things worse?" Alex put a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You've done everything you can. Trust yourself and trust your team. If anyone can pull this off, it's you." His words gave her strength, though the fear remained. Emily shared similar concerns, but she pushed them aside, focusing instead on the task at hand. Failure wasn't an option, not when billions of lives depended on their success. As dawn broke over the Atlantic Ocean, Earth's fleet assembled, near the moon, ready to execute Operation Eclipse, the mission to deploy Dawnbreaker. Ryan and Sophia led the assault team tasked with escorting the weapon into position. Their job was to clear a path through the Zentari defenses and ensure the device reached its target unharmed. "Stay sharp," Ryan instructed his squadron over the comlink. "This is it. Everything rides on us." The operation began with a diversionary attack, drawing the Zentari fleet away from the designated deployment zone. Fighter squadrons engaged the enemy head-on, buying precious time for the Dawnbreaker team to slip past. Explosions lit up the void of space as ships clashed, each side fighting with desperate intensity. Ryan and Sophia navigated through the chaos, dodging enemy fire and taking out hostile drones. Behind them, the Dawnbreaker platform moved steadily toward its destination, protected by a small contingent of ships. Every second counted, and the tension was palpable. Finally, they reached the designated coordinates. Emily activated the weapon remotely, her hands shaking as she input the final commands. On the bridge of the command ship, President Rachel Monroe watched anxiously, praying silently for success. The Dawnbreaker hummed to life, emitting a pulse of gravitational energy that rippled outward like a shockwave. The Zentari fleet froze as the black hole began to form, its immense gravity pulling everything nearby into its core. Ships were torn apart, swallowed whole by the vortex. Panic spread among the invaders as they realized they were powerless to escape. Commander Varric Solis stared in disbelief as his flagship was dragged toward the event horizon. For the first time in his life, he felt fear, not for himself, but for the fate of his people. "Abort!" he shouted, ordering his crew to flee. But it was too late. The black hole consumed them all, erasing the Zentari Armada from existence. When the weapon shut down, silence fell over the battlefield. Debris floated aimlessly in the void, remnants of the once mighty Zentari fleet. Earth's defenders regrouped, their hearts heavy with relief and sorrow. They had won, but the cost had been immense. Ryan looked out at the wreckage, his mind racing. He thought about Lucas, Alex, and all the others who had given their lives for this moment. Their sacrifices hadn't been in vain. Humanity had stood against impossible odds and emerged victorious. Back on Earth, celebrations erupted as news of the victory spread. People poured into the streets, cheering and embracing strangers. Flags waved, fireworks lit up the sky, and songs of triumph filled the air. President Rachel Monroe addressed the world, her voice filled with emotion. "Today, we prove that legends aren't born, they're made. Together, we faced an enemy unlike any other and refused to yield. Let this be remembered as the day humanity reclaimed its place among the stars. For the Zentari, the lesson was clear. Never underestimate the power of a united humanity. Legends, it seemed, weren't so easily forgotten after all." The aftermath of Operation Eclipse left Earth in a state of cautious relief. The Zentari Armada had been destroyed, and for the first time in months, humanity could breathe easier. But the victory came at a steep price. Countless lives had been lost. Soldiers, pilots, civilians, and entire cities bore scars from the relentless battles. The skies above Earth were quieter now, but the wounds ran deep. President Rachel Monroe stood on the steps of the Capitol building, addressing a crowd of survivors who had gathered to hear her speak. Her voice carried both strength and sorrow as she acknowledged the sacrifices made. "We have won," she said, her words echoing across the plaza. "But let us never forget what it cost. Today we honor those who gave everything so that we might live free." Her speech was met with cheers and tears, a reflection of the mixed emotions sweeping the planet. People celebrated the end of the war, but they also mourned the loved ones they had lost. In homes and communities, stories of heroism emerged, tales of ordinary people doing extraordinary things to protect their world. These stories became a source of inspiration, reminding everyone of the resilience that defined humanity. Dr. Emily Carter sat alone in her lab, staring at the Dawnbreaker device. The weapon that had saved Earth now felt like a burden too heavy to carry. She replayed the events of the battle in her mind, questioning whether there had been another way. Could they have ended the war without resorting to such destruction? The thought haunted her. Mia Torres found her later that evening, sitting silently amidst stacks of data pads and blueprints. "You did what you had to do," Mia said gently. "No one blames you." Emily shook her head, her eyes distant. "That doesn't make it easier. We wiped out an entire fleet, thousands of lives in seconds. What does that say about us?" "It says we fought to survive," Mia replied firmly. "They came here to conquer us, Emily. You gave Earth a chance to live. That's something worth holding on to." Though Mia's words offered comfort, Emily couldn't shake the guilt. She resolved to dedicate herself to rebuilding, to finding ways to use science and technology for healing rather than harm. For now, though, she allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection, remembering those who had trusted her to guide them through the darkest hour. General Daniel Hayes coordinated cleanup efforts, ensuring that Earth's defenses remained strong despite the absence of an immediate threat. The Zentari invasion had exposed vulnerabilities in Earth's infrastructure, and Daniel knew they couldn't afford to be complacent. Reconnaissance missions scoured nearby space for any remnants of the enemy fleet, while engineers worked tirelessly to repair damaged orbital platforms and satellites. Daniel also oversaw the integration of new recruits into Earth's military forces. Many civilians who had volunteered during the war chose to remain enlisted, inspired by the camaraderie and purpose they had found. Among them was Alex Torres, whose bravery during the final battle earned him recognition as a rising star within the ranks. Though he missed his sister Mia, who had returned to civilian life, Alex found solace in serving alongside others who shared his commitment to protecting Earth. Captain Ryan Cole struggled to adjust to peacetime. After years of fighting, the sudden absence of conflict left him feeling adrift. He spent hours in the cockpit of his fighter, staring out at the stars, unable or unwilling to let go of the adrenaline-fueled existence he had known. Sophia Blake noticed his withdrawal and confronted him one evening. "You can't keep living in the past, Ryan," she said, her tone firm but kind. "We've done our part. Now it's time to move forward." Ryan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I don't know how to do that, Soph. Everything feels empty." "It's okay to feel lost," Sophia admitted. "But you're not alone. We'll figure it out together." Her words resonated with him, and slowly Ryan began to reconnect with the world around him. He visited memorials dedicated to fallen comrades, finding comfort in the shared grief of others. He even started mentoring young pilots, passing on the skills and lessons he had learned during the war. Teaching became a form of healing, helping him rediscover meaning beyond the battlefield. On Xylo 7, Aaron Voss and his rebellion celebrated their role in humanity's victory. With the Zentari fleet gone, the colonists turned their attention to rebuilding their shattered society. Factories reopened, fields were replanted, and schools welcomed children eager to learn about freedom. Aaron addressed the people, urging them to seize this opportunity to create a better future. "We've taken back our home," he declared. "Now let's build a world where no one has to live in fear. A world worthy of the sacrifices made." Lyra Solon stayed by his side, her loyalty unwavering. Together, they worked to establish a new government based on equality and justice. Though challenges remained, scarce resources, lingering distrust among former slaves, the spirit of unity prevailed. Xylos 7 became a symbol of hope, proof that even the most oppressed could rise up and reclaim their destiny. Word of Earth's triumph spread throughout the galaxy, inspiring other worlds to cast off the chains of Zentari rule. Delegations arrived from liberated planets, seeking alliances and guidance. Humanity's defiance had ignited a wave of change, proving that resistance could succeed against overwhelming odds. President Rachel Monroe welcomed these delegations, warmly, emphasizing the importance of cooperation. "We may have stood alone in this fight," she told them, "but we recognize that freedom is a shared responsibility. Together, we can ensure that tyranny never takes root again." Earth opened, its doors to refugees fleeing former Zentari territories, offering shelter and support. Scientists collaborated with alien researchers to develop sustainable technologies, while diplomats worked to forge treaties that would prevent future conflicts. Slowly but surely, the galaxy began to heal. Despite the progress, reminders of the war lingered. In museums and archives, artifacts from the conflict served as testaments to humanity's courage and ingenuity. Fighter jets used in key battles were preserved, their cockpits etched with the names of fallen pilots. Letters written by soldiers to their families were displayed alongside photographs of smiling children waving flags. These exhibits reminded visitors of the human cost of war and the unyielding determination that had brought victory. For many, the emotional toll of the war took longer to fade. Veterans struggled with memories of loss and trauma, seeking solace in support groups and counseling programs. Families pieced together their lives, finding strength in shared resilience. Children born during the conflict grew up hearing stories of heroes who had saved the planet, instilling in them a sense of pride and purpose. As Earth rebuilt, its people looked to the future with renewed hope. Advances in technology spurred exploration of the cosmos, driven by a desire to understand the universe and prevent another catastrophic war. New ships launched into the stars, carrying ambassadors, scientists, and adventurers eager to chart unknown territories. President Rachel Monroe addressed the United Nations one final time before stepping down from office. Her tenure had been marked by crisis and triumph, and she spoke with the wisdom of someone who had seen humanity at its best and worst. "Today, we stand united, not just as nations, but as a species," she said. "We've proven that legends aren't born, they're made, and now it's time to write the next chapter of our story." Her words echoed across the globe, inspiring billions to dream of a brighter tomorrow. Humanity had faced extinction and emerged stronger, more united, and more determined than ever. Legends weren't born. They were forged in the fires of adversity, and Earth had become a legend in its own right. Months had passed since the Zentari invasion ended, and Earth was slowly healing. The scars of war remained visible, ruined cities, empty chairs at family tables, and memorials etched with names of the fallen. But life was beginning to flourish, again. Humanity had proven its strength not just in battle but in its ability to rebuild and move forward. Yet even as people embraced peace, they understood that vigilance was necessary. The galaxy was vast, and threats could emerge from any corner. President Rachel Monroe stepped down from office, leaving behind a legacy of unity and resilience. Her successor, President Michael Grant, vowed to continue her work, emphasizing diplomacy and exploration. Under his leadership, Earth reached out to other civilizations, forging alliances and sharing knowledge. The message was clear: humanity wasn't just a survivor, it was a builder, eager to create a better future for all. Dr. Emily Carter devoted herself to projects aimed at healing the planet and advancing peaceful technologies. With Mia Torres by her side, She developed systems to restore damaged ecosystems and improve living conditions for communities affected by the war. Her lab became a hub of innovation, attracting brilliant minds from across the globe. Though the memory of Dawnbreaker still weighed on her, Emily found purpose in using science to nurture life rather than destroy it. General Daniel Hayes retired from active duty, passing the torch to younger leaders like Alex Torres, who had risen through the ranks with remarkable speed. Alex carried the lessons of the war with him, instilling in his troops the values of teamwork, adaptability, and compassion. He often visited schools and community centers, speaking about the importance of courage and sacrifice. His speeches inspired a new generation to serve, not just in the military but in any field where they could make a difference. Daniel, now living quietly in the countryside, spent his days tending to a small garden and writing memoirs of his time in service. He reflected on the battles fought, the lives lost, and the friendships forged along the way. When asked about the war, he would simply say, "We did what we had to do, and because of that, humanity has a tomorrow." Captain Ryan Cole finally found peace after months of struggling to adjust to civilian life. Teaching young pilots gave him a sense of fulfillment, allowing him to pass on the skills and wisdom he had gained during the conflict. He also reconnected with Sophia Blake, whose unwavering support had helped him navigate his darkest moments. Together, they traveled to memorials and spoke at events honoring those who had given their lives. Their bond deepened, built on shared experiences and mutual respect. One day, while visiting a museum dedicated to the war, Ryan paused before a display featuring Lucas Grayson's fighter jet. The cockpit still bore Lucas's name, a reminder of his bravery and sacrifice. Ryan placed a hand on the glass, feeling a mix of sadness and gratitude. "You showed us what legends look like," he whispered, echoing the last transmission Lucas had sent before his death. It was a phrase that had become a rallying cry for humanity, a testament to the indomitable spirit of those who refused to give up. On Xylo 7, Aaron Voss and Lyra Solon continued leading their people toward a brighter future. The former mining colony transformed into a thriving society, its citizens united by a shared vision of freedom and progress. Aaron worked tirelessly to ensure that no one was left behind, prioritizing education, healthcare, and sustainable development. Lyra, meanwhile, served as an ambassador, representing Xylo 7 in discussions with Earth and other liberated worlds. Their partnership became a symbol of hope, proving that collaboration between different species could lead to extraordinary achievements. When delegations from Earth visited Xylo 7, they were struck by the warmth and determination of its people. "You remind us why we fought," one diplomat said to Aaron. "Not just to survive, but to build something worth fighting for." As Yao, Earth expanded its reach into the stars, explorers encountered wonders beyond imagination. New planets teeming with life, ancient ruins hinting at long-lost civilizations, and phenomena that defied scientific explanation. All these discoveries fueled humanity's curiosity and ambition. Ships carrying diplomats, scientists, and settlers ventured farther than ever before, guided by a spirit of cooperation and discovery. Among the explorers was Captain Elena Vega, a rising star in Earth's space program. She led missions to chart unexplored regions of the galaxy, documenting her findings with meticulous detail. Her crew included individuals from diverse backgrounds, reflecting Earth's commitment to inclusivity and collaboration. One evening, as they gazed at a distant nebula glowing with vibrant colors, Elena spoke to her team about the significance of their journey. "We're not just exploring space," she said. "We're exploring ourselves, what we're capable of, what we value, and how we want to be remembered. Let's make sure our story is one of hope, not fear." Her words resonated deeply, inspiring her crew to approach every challenge with creativity and determination. They returned to Earth with stories of breathtaking landscapes and encounters with friendly alien species, further solidifying humanity's reputation as a force for good in the galaxy. Back on Earth, children played games inspired by the war, imagining themselves as brave pilots or ingenious scientists. Schools taught lessons about the conflict, emphasizing the importance of unity, innovation, and perseverance. Artifacts from the war, fighter jets, uniforms, letters home, were preserved in museums, serving as reminders of humanity's triumph over adversity. One such artifact was a handwritten note from a young girl named Lily, addressed to Captain Ryan Cole's squadron. "Thank you for protecting us," it read. "I believe in you." The note had been framed and displayed prominently in the War Museum, drawing tears from visitors who understood the profound impact of simple acts of faith and gratitude. Years later, humanity's place in the galaxy was secure. Earth had become a beacon of progress, admired for its resilience and compassion. Stories of the Zentari invasion were told and retold, evolving into legends that inspired generations. Scholars debated whether humanity's victory was inevitable or a miracle, but one thing was certain: it was earned through courage, ingenuity, and an unshakable belief in the power of unity. President Michael Grant addressed the United Nations on the anniversary of the war's end, his voice filled with pride and optimism. "Today we celebrate not just survival, but renewal," he said. "We faced an enemy unlike any other and emerged stronger, not because we sought conquest, but because we chose to stand together. Let this be our legacy, a species that looks to the stars not with fear but with hope." His words echoed across the galaxy, reaching planets where humans had once been dismissed as myths. The Zentari Federation, though diminished, learned a valuable lesson. Never underestimate the power of a united humanity. Legends weren't born, they were made. And humanity had written its own story, one chapter at a time. As ships departed, Earth for new adventures, their crews carried with them the memories of those who had paved the way. The sacrifices of Ryan, Sophia, Lucas, Alex, Emily, and countless others were honored not with monuments alone, but with action. Humanity had reclaimed its place among the stars, and this time it wouldn't let go.